Hello, emerging and evolving leaders. I'm Christine Rozier, host of the Irrelevant Leader podcast and founder of the Leadership Collaborative and Rozier Retreats. My platforms are dedicated to expanding the pool of exceptional leaders. I'm honored to be your leadership expert today. I believe that every person has the potential to become an extraordinary leader, and in doing so, significantly impact the lives of others. Extraordinary leadership begins with mindset. Relevant leaders are committed to developing the qualities necessary to successfully lead others, qualities that are cultivated and refined over time. Throughout the Irrelevant Leader podcast series, some of the world's most relevant leaders and I examine the behaviors and characteristics of irrelevant leaders. Tune in as we dig deep into identifying what goes wrong when a leader moves down the path from powerful leadership to ineffectual leadership. Join me for live call-in sessions, one-on-one interviews, and thought leadership segments as high-profile leaders and I explore what it takes for you to avoid the blight of dreaded irrelevancy and outline how you can achieve and maintain your place among the world's most profound and relevant leaders. Thank you again for listening. Let's get to today's episode. Today, I'd like to explore with you the concept of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is absolutely necessary if your goal is to be an extraordinary leader. Emotional intelligence, or your EQ, emotional quotient, is the capacity to understand and manage your own emotions in positive ways. Emotional intelligence is a factor in relieving stress, communicating effectively, empathizing with other people, and diffusing conflict. There are essentially 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. And today we will explore what I believe to be the primary pillar, which is self-awareness. Organizational psychologist and researcher Tasha Eurich conducted a study on self-awareness. The study showed that most people don't see themselves as clearly as they could. The data revealed that while 95% of people believed that they were self-aware, only between 12 and 15% of people were actually self-aware. So what is self-awareness? It's the ability to identify one's thoughts, feelings, and behavior, as well as having an understanding as to the impact of those behaviors on other people. The journey to self-awareness begins with self-assessment. Accurate self-assessment can provide you with valuable insights and understandings regarding your leadership strengths and areas of opportunity. The key to making any shift in our thoughts or our actions is to become completely honest about how we currently show up in any situation. Self-assessment is simply the understanding of what is without judgment or opinion. It allows you to gain clarity and supports your journey from a default mindset or behavior to choosing a more effective mindset and resulting behavior. Leaders who can self-assess become humble and teachable, and they're open to new ideas, new concepts, and new suggestions. Think of self-assessing as an experience of inventorying products on a store shelf. The point is to simply identify what you see. It's important to understand that self-assessment is not the same as self-criticism. In fact, self-criticism inhibits our willingness to accurately self-assess. Self-criticism causes an internal defensiveness and closes our minds. It's a result of fear, so it immediately sends our brain into a fight or flight mode. Self-criticism triggers you to move from being humble and teachable to being closed. So often there is a self-critic program habitually running in the background of our mind. This critical voice and the messages cause significant damage in our lives without our even being aware that it is running. Some of my clients think that self-criticism is actually motivating. I've noticed in working with these leaders that they tend to be highly critical of those they lead. And it is because they have a very strong internal critic, as within, so without. Criticism of yourself or others erodes self-confidence and self-esteem, and it's actually highly demotivating. In addition, self-criticism causes unnecessary stress and tension in our lives. Highly effective leaders continuously practice the art of self-assessment. And as a result of understanding their strengths and challenges, effective leaders are more open to opportunities that are not available when they are defensive and shut down. So how do we shift from self-criticism to self-assessment? The first step is to become aware of the messages that you are giving yourself throughout the day. Stop regularly and notice your internal dialogue. Pay special attention when you are embarking on a new task, assignment, or project. Also notice those times where you are engaging with people who you do not normally engage with. I noticed my own self-critic as I move forward in creating this podcast. My awareness prevented it from taking over my thought process and allowed me to choose more encouraging thoughts. I'm not certain if the self-critic ever completely goes away, but I do know that with practice and new choices, we default to more supportive thoughts and behaviors. Also, do not criticize the self-critic. This is just the critic trying to come in through the back door. If you notice you are engaged in self-criticism, practice self-assessment by observing without judgment or condemnation. The second step is to choose to change what you're telling yourself. Just before recording this episode, I heard a song playing and the lyrics caught my attention. The artist sang, and I quote, "The thing I really like about myself," end quote. And then she went on to describe what she likes about herself. I thought, what a perfect alternative to self-criticism. So use this as a template to change your default program from language of self-criticism to language of self-support. And the third step is think in terms of win-win. It's a win every time you notice the self-critic is talking. It's also a win when you notice that you are choosing new thoughts and behaviors in experiences where the self-critic would have been operating. Remember that changing is a process and not an intellectual exercise. It takes commitment and patience in order to develop and grow ourselves. The objective is not perfection. The objective is practice. Research tells us that only about 20% of the population has innate leadership skills. That means the remaining 80% need to develop and cultivate these skills. If you were engaged in a new workout regime or learning a new language or instrument, it would take time to reach your goal. The expectation that we're going to get it right the first time is an unrealistic expectation. So be aware if that is something that your internal self-critic expects of you. Instead, celebrate the fact that you tried, and that will inspire you to continue down the path, in this case, of developing more self-awareness and new and more effective leadership qualities. Often practicing new behavior is uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. Be willing to sit in the discomfort If you are not willing to experience discomfort, you will default to former thinking and related behaviors. Be patient with yourself as you embark upon the journey to better self-awareness and extraordinary leadership. In our next episode, I will explore another pillar of emotional intelligence. Please share this episode with anyone whom you feel might benefit from a discussion about self-awareness. Thank you for joining me, Christine Rozier, and the Irrelevant Leader podcast series. Remember this: you are more extraordinary and capable than you think. To become the leader you aspire to be, you need the right tools and support to assist you in developing and maintaining the characteristics found in great and relevant leaders. That's why I host the Irrelevant Leader podcast, direct the year-long leadership collaborative, and Rozier Leadership Retreats. Visit the website at christinerozier.com, that's spelled R-O-S-I-E-R, to learn more. Check out the podcast page for upcoming live events and interviews with amazing, relevant leaders. If you're not already on the mailing list, then please sign up to join me in this powerful network of exceptional leaders.